what is the national perception around Oklahoma relative to maybe what reality actually is around Oklahoma? Because the win total in Vegas says over under 6.5 wins for Brent Venables and co. Now, I truly think a lot of that has to do with how tough the schedule is, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I got to thinking, a lot of the conversation and perception of Oklahoma, to me, is the exact same way that people view murder mystery movies, if you will. I think some people, with how you view Oklahoma, it's very easy to get caught up in the main character of it all, the big things, the obvious things you can spot that are on your desktop when you pull up ESPN or you pull up On3 or whoever, the big things, which are Brent Venables has had a couple of subpar seasons. Hey, the SEC is a really freaking good conference. Defense is good, but the offense was trash last year. Schedule is brutal. A lot of people watching murder mystery movies just track the main character. What's the detective doing? Where is he at? Is he safe? Who could it be relative to the detective's perspective? Like that, it's totally all the way leading into the narrative, leaning all the way into it. But those of us that, have maybe watched a couple murder mystery movies a few different times, that's not actually where you should be looking. The big things are the big things, but what makes up the big things? The little things. What makes up the actual plot when it comes to the whole movie ending, when you find out who the killer is, the setting, the other characters in the background, in the shadows. What's the butler doing with the candle late at night in the background of that one scene, or what's the stepwife doing, or what was it the son who just wanted to make his dad proud? Like there's a bunch of different plot lines here, but it's the details, the little things that ultimately I think make up the big things, and that's the same thing with Oklahoma. Dream with me here. New offensive coordinator. It's a semi-big thing, but not as big as I think people speaking to what the season was last year for Oklahoma. Healthier wide receiving core. You would hope. Giovanni Gibson got a good report there for the most part. We'll see what happens there. Brent Venables, they actually feel really good internally about that defense. Brent Venables is calling the defense. You went out and got a quarterback who is, I think, going to be one of the best in the SEC this year, who totaled 44 touchdowns last year at Washington State. Things that the maybe flyover college football crowd wouldn't necessarily have a great gauge on. If you're watching just the main character and watching just the narrative, it's easy to say, Oklahoma won 6 games last year, going to play the same schedule. They're probably not going to be very good, right? The details, though, is what makes this thing a little bit more nuanced, and I think give us a much better picture for where this whole thing is actually headed. So what I think is important to note is it doesn't take a ton of courage to say that Oklahoma is going to be average after they were average the year before. I think when you actually look at what Oklahoma has in front of them in 2025, schedule is brutal. There's no way around it. But we don't know what we don't know about October and November as we sit here in April. There's things you just can't know. Like Oklahoma, they play 7 of their 9 Power 4 opponents that are going to have a new quarterback. Now, John Mateer's new quarterback too, but John Mateer's played more college football than one Arch Manning, played more college football than a Bryce Underwood, more college football than whoever Tennessee's trotting out there potentially if they don't go grab a ready-made starter. Tyson, like you hear what I'm saying? Oklahoma overall, that schedule in itself, yes, there's a lot of logos, and yes, you got to play at Tennessee and at Bama and all those things. Ole Miss, new quarterback, you got to play them, and they're in a top 25 regular, it seems like. But there's no guarantee that those new quarterbacks and those new pieces fit seamlessly for them. Not saying it's the same thing for Oklahoma, but I do think Oklahoma, they see those logos, they hear the narrative, they hear all that. I think there's a lot of feeling for them in Norman that, you know what, they still got to play us as much as people talk about our schedule. They still got to see us on whatever Saturday it is and try to keep up with this offense with John Mateer and Ben Arbuckle calling the show, with Giovanni Gibson hopefully getting back right healthy, with Deion Burks. Like, I think they feel pretty good about what they have any given game to where, yeah, the schedule is the schedule and you got to find a way to, sustain. But if you're just going to compare overall, like, talent that Oklahoma feels like they have, I don't think they're tippy-toeing at all or feeling like there's some underdog. Like, I think over 6.5 to me is a lock of absolute year at this point in time. So when you look at the schedule, though, we'll pull that back up one more time here, Cato, when it comes to what they have in front of them. Keep a pulse on the narrative for Oklahoma because it's going to flip very quickly. Right now, that over under 6.5, a lot of people not sure what to make of them, and what about John Mateer having played in the Pac-2 last year, whatever. If they beat Michigan, that second game of the season, watch the momentum start to turn. Watch people start to believe in Oklahoma, especially if they do it in a somewhat convincing fashion by like over a touchdown. That'll start to turn some heads. Now, we're not calling our shot right now, but I just want to make sure we're on the same page here. The narrative around Oklahoma is going to be a very quick one in terms of how it trends upwards or downwards. The same thing could happen for them if they end up not playing well against Michigan. But to put a bow on this thing, Oklahoma, you look at the details, look at what they have done over the course of this offseason. I think it's hard to say they haven't been an offseason champion to this point. People throw that around in a negative connotation. I'm all here. You got to win the offseason, man. And Oklahoma, after the subpar year they had last year, it was more important for them to win the offseason than ever before, and they've done that. With the offensive coordinator, with Mateer, keeping David Stone. I promise you, they'll go to the portal, they'll do some work. They go out and get a running back from Cal, the Calgorithm, and Jaden Ott. Like, they're taking some strides here. The details for Oklahoma are what gets me excited for 2025. The big picture is easy to look at, easy to lob out a take there. 6 wins last year, they'll be average again. I don't know, man. I would be very, very leery of just giving into the narrative that maybe the murder mystery movie wants you to believe. Very, very seldom is the narrative accurate in those contexts. And I think that's the same case here for Oklahoma.